Good evening. I'm Ralph Berkeley. As moderator this evening, I would like to welcome each candidate for Beloit City Council, as well as members of the audience to the 2020 Candidates Forum. This year, there are 4 open seats for City Council. Each elected person will serve for a 2-year term. The forum this evening is sponsored by the Beloit League of Women Voters, the NAACP Beloit Chapter, and the Greater Beloit Chamber of Commerce and Rising Professionals of Beloit. The forum will be taped and aired on Beloit Cable Access TV and YouTube before the April 7th primary. Questions this evening were prepared by the sponsoring organizations. The first part of the forum will consist of candidates answering a series of questions. The second part of the forum is reserved for audience questions. Audience members are invited to write questions on cards provided. A member of the sponsoring organizations will collect the cards. Audience questions for the candidates should not be personal or directed to a specific candidate. Finally, at the end of the audience question answer period, each candidate will be given the opportunity to give closing remarks. Due to a family emergency, Mr. Levy will not be in attendance this evening. At this time, it is my pleasure to introduce the candidates for City Council. To my immediate right, Ms. Brittany Keys, non-incumbent. Mr. Paul Martin, non-incumbent. Ms. Regina Duncan, incumbent. Mr. Marquise Terrell, non-incumbent. And last but not least, Mr. Mark Portial, incumbent. Candidates are asked to activate their microphone when answering a question and to turn off their microphone when not speaking. And there is a button, if you've located that, to activate your microphone. Each candidate will answer this question. How would you describe Beloit to someone not living in the community? And what do you value about living in Beloit? Each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond to the question. A timekeeper is seated in front of you to keep us on schedule. And we will begin our first question with Mr. Portial. I'll repeat the question. How would you describe Beloit to someone not living in the community? And what do you value about living in Beloit? You have 2 minutes, please, to respond to the question.
Well, I describe it as a microcosm of America with a diverse, well-rounded, and culturally enriched community that lives along a beautiful river with lots of water and green space that is getting better, not necessarily bigger. That's welcoming, friendly, and there's a lot of different platitudes I could ascribe to it, but we are a community that you will almost instantly fall in love with. We have a great area to along the river. We have great parks. We have a bustling downtown, a huge farmers market, and plenty of opportunities for people to work and live there, and a really great quality of life. And I would hope that they would like to come back and visit again.
Beloit is a city where I was born and raised, a city that I love, a city that I wish to represent. There are a lot of this built on the working class. Beloit is a historically working class city. I happen to be a part of the working class in this city as well. We have a lot of promising leaders in the city of Beloit, and as I wish to be one of them, I've definitely made some community efforts in the city because it's a promising city, and I know we're on our way to greatness. Especially we're on our way to greatness, and I'm definitely praying and hoping that somewhere down the line we can invite more people into the city that would like to live and work and invest in some kind of interest in the city of Beloit, grow the city of Beloit, and I'm really looking forward to the leadership here.
Thank you, Mr. Terrell. Ms. Duncan?
I hope my mic's on. Is it on?
It is.
Okay. I would just like to say that Beloit is a place that I'm proud of and that I love to live in. Beloit is a diverse community. It's also a place for me that's been wonderful because I raised my family here. I'm a mother of 3 children. I mean, I'm a mother of 3 children, and my kids are here tonight and my grandkids. Beloit it's a small town with a small town feel. Everybody knows everyone. It's a place that I love to live in. I mean, I can go places and people know who I am. They know you by name, and you can go to other bigger cities and you don't have that feeling. It's a feeling of love. Also, this is a very generous and caring community. I have been humbled when I work at different events. I volunteer for many organizations, and one of the things that I'm always struck by is the generosity of our community. I rang the bells for Salvation Army, and to see even a little girl come up and put like her little penny or her little nickel into the pot to give to others. So for me, the best thing about Beloit is that we are a generous, loving, caring community.
Thank you. Mr. Martin?
I would describe the city of Beloit to someone who's inquiring about it as a city that has a lot of opportunities to it. It has a lot of nice parks, a lot of activities that we provide throughout the year. That they would truly enjoy themselves if they were to come downtown and communicate with all the downtown businesses, just going through the neighborhoods and meeting the people that reside here in the city of Beloit. We have a lot of good people here in the city of Beloit, and that's one thing that we need to basically express to the people that want to come and visit is the friendly atmosphere among all the citizens, and the good time you can truly have here with all the events that the city of Beloit provides throughout the year. The other thing would be that the diversity of the city is one thing that we truly need to expound on and build on to make this a better city than what it is now.
Thank you. Ms. Keys?
So Beloit is a small city with a deep roots and a lot of Beloit pride. It's strong, growing, and the thriving downtown is something nothing short of a gem in southern Wisconsin. And I am very proud to advertise that we have the second best and biggest farmers market in the state. And draws thousands of people May through October on Saturday mornings. We have a awesome and growing business community, and Beloit is diverse, and I would have to say that the diversity within Beloit is one of our greatest strengths. Beloit's a city that my husband and I fell in love with, and we chose to move to Beloit to buy a home and raise our family here. What I value most about Beloit is the people and the sense of community. I've knocked doors throughout the city, and I'm really motivated and inspired by many people throughout the city and really their willingness to give of themselves for the betterment of others. So I really value the people of Beloit.
Thank you. The next series of questions will be answered by a candidate selected at random. The candidate will have 2 minutes to answer the question. If another candidate wants to respond to the same question, that candidate will give a 30-second response. And I did not, pardon me, 1 minute response. Thank you for correcting me. Did I mention we have a timekeeper? Thank you. She will also keep me on target. If another candidate wants to respond to the same question, that candidate will have 1 minute to respond, to give a response. So the first question is going to go to Mr. Terrell. What ideas do you have to improve transportation options throughout the city, specifically addressing issues that senior citizens and students may encounter?
The transportation issue is a big thing. Something that I've actually we need to advocate more for transportation in the Gateway community. What's affecting a lot of people, specifically in the Hackett and the Merrill neighborhoods, is that they're not being able to have access to those jobs, such as Frito-Lay and Hormel and Amazon that's coming, because they have no way to get there. So we definitely have to expand the bus routes to those areas. And as far as the senior citizens, we're having an issue with the cost of living that's going up on a lot of people here in Beloit, and we need to lower the cost of living in the city of Beloit. That's affecting not only senior citizens as well, and single mothers along with senior citizens. Senior citizens are on a set income, so when the cost of living in Beloit is going up, it's definitely affecting senior citizens, and like I say, single mothers as well. So expanding those bus routes would definitely be a huge thing, like specifically for the homeless people as well. Low income people in the city of Beloit it's a major thing. We definitely need to expand those bus routes and lower the cost of living in the city of Beloit.
Thank you. Is there another candidate wishing to answer the same question? Yes, Mr. Parisho.
Well, I'll go first. We kind of failed the community 3 years ago with the transit bus realignment. The routes were realigned, and that was not it wasn't really very well done. And we've moved to change things, and just this last year, we reorganized the transit system to put it under community development. So hopefully we'll have a more responsive leadership and address some of the deficiencies it has now. I've already mentioned it to the city manager. We haven't had a chance to meet. I had an idea for a crosstown express, because when you look at the middle of Beloit, it's not served by a bus route. We've got loops going around, it takes too long. And I had an idea for a crosstown express from Woodman's all the way to the Gateway and around and back. And it would be a limited route that would not cross, and be in addition to what we already have. And hopefully serve a underserved area that's currently not crossed by any routes. So we'll see what happens with that. But it's I think community development's involvement will make a huge difference going forward. And I'm looking for changes and improvements.
Thank you. Ms. Keys?
Well, transportation is an important issue to help individuals get access to employment, grocery, and retail, and we can definitely do better in many of our different neighborhoods. Investing in expanding our public transit can also help with decreasing congestion downtown. I work at the YMCA, and parking is often an issue. So one of my thoughts is looking at private-public partnerships and developing like a park and ride, and having incentives for employees to park near the highway and use our public transit to help with shuttling people to and from work. And so less cars is less congestion, and this will allow parking availability, especially for our seniors looking to access the YMCA, to improve. And for students looking to collaborate with the school district of Beloit to see how we can share resources and to ensure safe and adequate transportation for our students.
Thank you. Ms. Duncan, did you want to be recognized?
Yes. Okay. I was just going to just echo what Councilor Prushill said. I know that we have a new staff person on our staff for the city of Beloit, and we also have a study that's out to study the different bus routes to make sure that we are reaching all the areas, and we also are going to be making it better for people to get over into the Gateway area. We have a lot of new businesses coming in that area, and so that's something that we're looking at. And also with BTC coming, it'll be at Beloit Public Library, and we'll have access where buses will be able to go in there and have access to buses will be able to get there, and people, because Beloit Public Library is a focal point, it'll be easier for people to get around. And I also think that it will be helpful with our new staff person to also look at perhaps some of our senior centers where a lot of our seniors live at, and some of the areas where our older population are, to make sure that we're meeting their needs and having routes going in those areas.
I'm sorry, time?
That's it.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to respond? Mr. Terrell?
Specifically about the youth, there was a question about the youth, right? Okay.
But, just a moment, please. But you did answer the question first, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, no repeats.
Okay. That's fine.
Sorry, no do-overs. The next question, that question will be directed to Ms. Duncan. Please discuss your ideas to attract retail development and maintain existing retail businesses.
That's kind of interesting because I was at a Greater Beloit Economic Development Committee meeting. I was about to say,
You're
I
on.
was saying that's interesting because that was, I attended at 7:30 this morning a Greater Beloit Economic Development Committee meeting, and that was the one thing that we talked about is retail. I was saying that I hear so often when I'm out throughout the city and people say we don't have anywhere to shop and we have to go to various areas. And we were told, and our staff that did a study, that it had to do with the people not being able to make a living, make enough money to be able to afford to shop. However, I know that there is a new study that is going to be done by the 200 group. So I've also, I know I'm rambling here, but I also was told that because there's a Kohl's, this is just an example, because there's a Kohl's in Janesville, to bring one here, they always look at the surrounding areas and how far the other Kohl's is. And the Kohl's that is currently in Janesville, they have it there because it's nothing in the vicinity of the Madison area between Madison and Janesville. And so that's how, that's why that's the way it is. But I am hoping, we've had discussion as a council about bringing retail in. And so we have talked about having our city manager have our staff to bring, we're putting that on our radar to make sure that we have retail in the city of Beloit.
Thank you. Excuse me. Anyone else wishing to answer the question? Mr. Terrell?
All right. Physical retail stores become less efficient because of online shopping. There are certain criteria that retailers look at when coming to wanting to come into a city. It's based on income and population. So in order to entice retailers are coming to the city of Beloit, we would want to, like I say, lower the cost of living so that people have a lot more money to spend. And those higher paying jobs, advocate for getting more people hired into those higher paying jobs, such as Frito-Lay, where I'm employed, Amazon, and Hormel. Those working class jobs, and advocate for more working class jobs to come into the city of Beloit, which would, like I say, entice retailers to come here, and people would spend their money.
Thank you. Mr. Porcher, did you have your hand up?
I did.
Please.
This year marks, in fact, next month marks 20 years in retail, and I didn't just sit idly by and put product on shelves. I understand the retail business, and I understand what makes it work and what has happened to it. We missed the retail bus back in the 60s and 70s because we didn't have a place to develop east of town by the interstate. There was no development, nothing happened there. And actually, we benefited from that in some respects. We don't have to deal with a giant mall sitting out there and nothing to do with it. And what we need to look at with retail development is the completion of the I-90, I-39 interchange out there. Because once all that gets done and is finalized and you got a completely remodeled, totally different than what you see today, there will be some opportunities for development out there. The trick is finding the right kind of mix and attracting those companies, because there is no build-out going on with brick and mortar retail. They just aren't doing it because there's not enough return on their investment. You can blame that on a lot of things. On the plus side for Beloit and retail development is the downtown.
Sorry,
is-
Mr.
is-
Purcell,
Oh, I'm
time.
sorry, I got only 1 minute, not 2. Not 20. Okay.
Ms. Keys?
It is my understanding that the city of Beloit has been looking to recruit individual stores and entities to fill our retail and as well as our grocery kind of niche that we need to have filled. And one of the bigger issues, like as Marquis said, is looking at the individual the household income. So one of the things that I would really like to do is help push making inroads with our city employees that are reaching out to recruiters to highlight the commuters that come in for employment and looking at all the people that are coming in and willing to, that will probably shop as they are coming and leaving from work. The other thing is the face of retail is changing. So we may need to look at supporting small businesses more. And the retail face of retail may be more looking at small businesses in our neighborhoods.
I'm sorry,
thank you.
time. Thank you. Mr. Martin?
Oh, yes. First of all, I think you need to include the citizens of the city of Beloit. Find out what they're looking for and what they're advocating for before you start basically trying to find out what stores you want to bring here. The citizens, they have a good idea of what they're looking for, what they need, what they want to shop for. You can't focus everything on the I-90 corridor either. You have a whole city that you have to think about. You have the west side. If everything is going to be located on the east side, then what about the west side residents? You have plenty of land over there that can be developed. There's plenty of land over there where you could put nice shops, nice stores, other small restaurants and stuff. I think you have to disperse your development throughout the whole city. And I think by having the citizens involved in it, it gives them a chance to speak
I'm
their
sorry,
voice.
time. Thank you. And the last question in this series will go to Mr. Martin. A resident complains about the city's portion of their property taxes being too high. How would you respond? Too high. I'll repeat the question. A resident complains about the city's portion of their property taxes being too high. How would you respond?
I would most likely respond by hearing their concerns, what they're concerned about, and then letting that citizen know that I'll get back to them with a sound answer. It may be an answer that they may not like, but we'll get them an answer to the reason and to why, and try to work along with them to find out and to let them know this is why the taxes came out the way they did.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to respond? Yes.
I've talked to homeowners myself about that issue. Property taxes definitely are skyrocketing in the city of Beloit, and we definitely need to, as a council, I would want to figure out how we can get those property taxes down and accommodate these people who own these homes. And it's definitely a huge thing. People are having problems wanting to even like get into home ownership in the city of Beloit. Like we want to support the homeowners and figure out ways to accommodate them through the city of Beloit and keep them living here. We would not want them to move outside of the city of Beloit because, like I say, the cost of living or the cost of owning a home or property taxes is too high here. It's drawing a lot of people away. So we need to discover ways to, like I said, accommodate those homeowners and bring a lot more people into home ownership as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to respond? Mr. Purcell.
Actually, as a city councilor, I've fielded a number of requests like this over the last few years. And the last two I got were from non-city residents, and they were out in the town of Beloit. They were not happy, but I directed them where they could get their answers. And in the process of doing so, I discovered that this happens daily at City Hall with city staff, getting calls from non-citizens about stuff they can't help them with. It's a very common occurrence. But in the reality of things, there is an appeals process. If your house is assessed at too high a value, your property is assessed over value, there is an appeals process to appeal that. It happens, I'm not going to get that right, so I'm not going to repeat it. I only got 1 minute. There's an appeals process, and there's our own attempt to hold the line. We've been holding the line as best we can. Hopefully when the Gateway TIF retires, we'll see some relief. I don't know how much relief, but that should be huge, and that'll be in 2 years, I believe.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to respond? Thank you.
I would just add that our city tax rate went up to 5 cents per thousand, so our rate is pretty decent. If we actually look at the assessment value of homes, and if we took our homes and we put them in another location, we'd be paying a lot more. So I would just like to say overall, I think that our city rate is pretty flat.
Thank you. Thank you, candidates. Oh, you have to show me your hands, people. Thank you, Ms. Keys.
In addition to thanking them for their email, I would highlight the process that Councilor Preschel brought forth to help them with a proactive approach if they really wanted, if they would like to take it to appeals. I would also highlight to them all of the city services that their taxes go to with respect to public safety, clean drinking water, maintaining the roads and the city workers, and just highlighting all of the great services and people that their money goes towards supporting.
Thank you. Thank you, candidates, for answering that series of questions. Pardon me?
Brittany and Mark didn't get a question.
Those were random questions.
Yeah, but there's two, each one gets a random question, right?
No. No.
Each one is supposed to get a
Well, I don't have any more questions, Joyce. I don't have any more questions at this time.
I'll go 2 and 6.
Thank you, Candace, for answering that series of questions. I will now direct questions either to an incumbent or a non-incumbent candidate. Only an incumbent can answer an incumbent question, and only a non-incumbent can answer a non-incumbent question. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer the question. If another candidate wants to respond to the question, that person will have 1 minute. Am I correct? 1 minute to respond?
Can anybody respond on the rebuttal, or is it just?
Yes, if an incumbent has a question, then only an incumbent can answer that question
And can respond?
and respond to the question. Only an incumbent, yes. Is everyone clear? The following question was intended to be asked of Mr. Levy, but due to his absence, I will direct the question to Ms. Duncan, who is currently the president of the City Council. Ms. Duncan, you will therefore have 2 questions directed to you as an incumbent. This is your lucky day. Ms. Duncan, this is your question. Is there a current plan in place to build new affordable housing and rehab existing neighborhood housing within the Beloit community? I can repeat the question if you wish.
Go ahead.
Is there a current plan in place to build new affordable housing and rehab existing neighborhood housing within the Beloit community?
Yes, it is, as far as the rehab, because we have our NARSA strategy plan. That's the Neighborhood Revitalization Strategy Area Plan. And so we are taking different neighborhoods. As a matter of fact, we're doing that right now on the west side of town. We've had some homes, and then also we are doing it on both sides. On the west side, out by the courthouse, and then also on the east side, over in the Merrill neighborhood. So we do have a plan to do that. And then as far as affordable housing, that is something that we as a council are aware of, and we are talking, we put that on our radar to assist with that. However, that can be a little bit challenging because our city budget is $100 million, and a portion of that goes to operating. So we can only spend the funds that we have. And so we do have, while we do have some housing, it's, I've talked with the city manager about perhaps using a certain area in the city. However, how do I say this? We have to, we understand that's an undertaking, and so that's something that we'll be looking at in the future.
Thank you. Is there another incumbent candidate wishing to answer this question? So you have 1 minute.
Okay, yeah. Well, one thing that we did in the last 2 years is we've partnered with Axe Housing to bring Axe Housing to Beloit. And one of the things is we have a lot of affordable housing in Beloit that has been sold as rental properties because people haven't been able to find financing. Landlords have deep pockets with cash available. They can buy houses for $30,000, $40,000 and rent them out. And it's hard for a person like me, or, because I make $24,000 a year, I mean, low income, low middle class, to go out and buy those homes, which they can afford, and then find financing for them from a bank, because banks don't finance $35,000 homes. They just don't. They're below the threshold. The threshold's something like $50 or $60 or more $1,000. So Axe can act as the bridge to help people buy into that, find them alternative financing. I had Aunt Blanche. Some people don't get an Aunt Blanche. But that way we can get these homes that have traditionally, for all of my life, gone into rental properties on both sides of town in those old neighborhoods, and they've turned into rental. And we can get ownership in those, but we need some way to bridge that gap that the banks don't cover or won't cover because the houses aren't valued high enough to interest the banks. We've got to find alternative ways of financing those. And there's programs out there to do that. And Axe is one of them. And we're finally looking at that saying, yes, there are ways to fix this problem, and we need to do that.
I'm sorry, Mr. Purcell, time.
Sorry, I was really going there.
Thank you.
I'd like to add to that.
Okay, then, no, an incumbent answers the question. Ms. Keys, this is your question. As a non-incumbent, I'm sorry. What ideas do you have to build new affordable housing and rehab existing neighborhood housing? I'll repeat the question. What ideas do you have to build new affordable housing and rehab existing neighborhood housing?
For investing in new affordable housing, I think it would be beneficial to look at models and communities that are having success with it. So just up the road, Janesville has had a really exciting new development where they are able to build a multi-unit apartment building that is quite affordable relative to the average cost of rent in Beloit. So looking at how we can reach out to similar developers or the same developers and communities to see where we can invest in something like that for Beloit. One of the great things that we do have in Beloit is that we complete the impediments to fair housing report every 5 years, and as part of that, we are able to access the community development block grant, and so we can also continue to look at how we execute and utilize those funds to help, similar to what Councilor Preschel mentioned, on helping decrease the barrier for and access for fair lending and lending so more people can access financing for home ownership. One of the other things that has been found to be one of the big issues for higher quality affordable housing is looking at increasing access to transportation, as previously mentioned, because that's a barrier to consistent employment and living wage employment, which then becomes a barrier to home ownership. So looking at different partnerships, learning from what has already been done, and then using the funding and the studies to get the ball rolling for action.
Thank you. Is there another non-incumbent candidate who would like to answer this question? If so, you have 1 minute to respond. Mr. Terrell?
First of all, for nursing neighborhoods, that would be specifically the Hackett and Merrill neighborhoods. I would advocate for the Fairbanks Flats area or Ward 12, I believe, to be added today. My idea as far as affordable housing, I have an idea through block grants or through like CDBG funds. I was thinking something like possibly getting homeowners that are renting to low income people to potentially get on a contract with the city and see about providing those funds to homeowners to help them renovate those homes if we could get them to agree through a contract with the city to lower the rent down because the rent is very high right now, like extremely high. And the problem that homeowners are having for people that are renting to is that they're worried about destroying their property. So if we get them on a contract, we have a tenant sign a contract as well, that within that time, if they destroy anything in those homes, they would be held accountable for it, as far as the homeowner being able to have that option to raise their rent as high as they want to. Because renters who are not getting into who are not destroying, okay.
Sorry, time. Thank you. Mr. Martin?
I think what you're gonna have to do is a combination of what has been mentioned up here. Also, you're gonna have to work with some of your citizens that may not think they have the finances to purchase homes, that may not understand about purchasing a home, what it takes to purchase a home and maintain a home. I think it's just gonna be, has to be a community-wide effort to where you educate those citizens who are interested in purchasing homes, along with introducing the programs and stuff that the city has and bringing that all together, along with any landlords that own property, to bring that all together to make sure your citizens who want to purchase homes understand and are educated on doing that.
Thank you. Any other non-candidate wishing to answer the question? Non-incumbent, thank you. Slip of the tongue. Mr. Proschel, this question is directed to you. What is the role of the council in the development of the city budget?
Well, in the course of, the council has the role of developing the strategic plan. We do that every 2 years now. And then we talk about it, pre-budget planning. So we set the policies and priorities that we want to see pursued within the budget, and then staff develops the budget. We don't get into the granular details of it until we get to the final budget workshop where we can talk about all the individual items. And it's a 480-page document, and it's full of really cool details. And you probably should like reading that kind of material because it's well worth reading. But insofar as our role is to establish those clear priorities, those clear policies that we want to see implemented within the budget, what's important, what's not important. And things like during the course of a year, like somebody's complaining about a street on the west side and it's only 2.5 blocks long, but it's 2 years out on the plan, can you move it up? Those are the kind of things we can specifically let somebody know about ahead of that budget process or in the budget process. But generally speaking, our role is to set those priorities and policies and make sure that the city manager understands, and she makes sure the staff understands, so it kind of trickles down from there.
Thank you. Is there another incumbent candidate wishing to answer this question?
Yes, I was going to say that we recommend the budget and the CIP, which usually is adopted by which is always adopted by the council. What we did this year is that we always go through the budget line by line, and what was nice this year was that we had, were able to put names with faces, and we went through each department. And so what we do is we have a budget workshop with all the counselors, and then after that, we have a public hearing where we welcome public input, and then from there, that's when we recommend approval, and then and then after that, the council adopts it.
Thank you. Mr. Terrell, this question is directed to you. What do you think will be the most challenging for you in the development of the city budget?
The most challenging,
The most challenging for you in the development of the city budget?
I would never necessarily call anything a challenge. What I do is I listen to the people. Whatever it is that the people need in the city of Beloit, we have to get out there and we have to talk to them and speak. And when it comes to a budget, we would need to figure out what specifically with funds that go out throughout the city, where are troubled areas? Where are the areas where people are struggling the most? And the surrounding areas. And, listening to people is a big thing, because if you're out there listening, you're out there talking to people and engaging, you really get a huge idea of what the city really needs. So anything as far as the budget that I would be advocating for or would find of some kind of challenge or anything like that is just specifically figuring out ways that money can be spent to improve the people. Like if we're talking about like CDBG funds, like I said, with housing projects, how can we use some of that money to help homeowners who renovate their homes, specifically people who are renting to low-income people? How can we use those funds to, how can we use those funds that could benefit the low-income people as well as, like I say, the homeowners? And then like the CIP, capital improvement projects, the roads. There are a lot of roads that need to be built. Not built, but renovated in the city of Beloit. And I feel like the current council has done that, and there's still a lot more work to do. But like I say, specifically listening to the people is a huge thing that I do as far as like where money needs to be spent within the budget. So that's the best answer I can come with. I wouldn't call it a challenge, but just listening and making things happen from there. The budgets that the council approves specifically that I know of is operating CIP, which is capital improvement projects, and the CDBG, and that usually is like the money from the federal, like I say, to go to housing projects and other nonprofits. So like I say, those are things that you can listen to the people about and figure out how to get out into the city and make things happen for the people.
Thank you. Excuse me. Is there another non-incumbent candidate who would like to answer this question? And if so, 30 seconds. Mr. Martin first, and then Ms. Keys.
I think the most challenging thing with the budget is prioritizing the needs of the city and the citizens. That's all, and that works with any budget, your home budget, business budget, or anything. I think that would be the most challenging part, is making the proper prioritizations for the citizens and the city, and making sure you come within the budget.
Thank you. Ms. Keys?
So the largest budget challenge that I see is that the city has a set amount of expenses and other costs that are steadily increasing with inflation and other factors, and we have a set amount of money, and we have limited local control on ways to generate or raise new revenue. So looking at how we can best meet the needs to take care of what we have, address our priority capital projects, as well as continue with maintenance and upgrades and growth as we need, given the fact that our ways to, that we have the set amount of money and limited raise to access and get new funds.
Thank you. Mr. Duncan, this question is for you. As I said, it's your lucky day. Beloit is a culturally diverse city. As an incumbent council member, what recommendations have you brought forward to the council that would embrace and celebrate our rich cultural diversity and promote Beloit becoming a more inclusive community?
I can think of some of the things that we're doing right now. We recognize, each month, we recognize various agencies. We've had the Latino service providers come before us. We just recognized Black History Month, so we are continually do that on a regular basis. We also encourage at every meeting, I know that I'm at, and a lot of the other councils, we encourage people and citizens to come out to the various events. And we ourselves attend those, and we talk about and we want to be inclusive. Inclusivity is important for the city of Beloit.
Are there any specific recommendations that you have sponsored?
Recommendations. I'm probably just not thinking of them right now, but we continually talk about that with the different events that we have throughout the city, so.
Thank you. Is there another incumbent candidate wishing to answer? Mr.
Yeah,
Parisho?
I almost wish Kevin were here because I know he would say this. And it's something that we started in 2016 when he rejoined the council, I joined the council. And I think that's what Regina was trying to look for there in her answer. We have insisted that at all of our meetings and all our strategic planning that we have a diverse workforce that reflects our community in every way. And we've over the last 3 years, we have redone the qualifications required for applying for fireman, firefighter, police, and we just, within the last 2 months, got a revamp of the city job listing requirements when we go to a job description or something like that. And I'm sure, Kevin, this happened, we constantly harp on this, whether it's at the city manager's review, which is coming up, or budget time, or whenever we talk about human resources and hiring. We want this city to reflect our community in every way possible. And we've made great strides. We got a long way to go. And it's not an easy climb sometimes in this job market because it's been a challenging job market. Our seasonal help applications went from 200 a year to 36 last year. We're not getting seasonal help, and that's not applying. And one of the first things I addressed, and before I was even on the council, was there's a perception in town that if you aren't the child or friend of a city employee, you can't get a job there. Why apply? We looked at that, we examined it, we found out there was no foundation for it, but there was a perception of it. And we've acted in many ways and other ways to change that perception, get out there and recruit as much talent as we can right from our city. There is one preference for working as a seasonal worker at City Hall. Do you live in the city of Beloit? And that's the only criteria we do hit on. That's going to be on that'll get you off at the top of the list, all things being equal. But other than that, we have strived very hard to make it a fair process and make it very inclusive.
Thank you. Mr. Martin, this question is for you. Please discuss some ideas you would propose that would promote Beloit becoming a more inclusive community.
Excuse me. As an elected official, I would propose doing quarterly town hall meetings throughout the city to find out what the citizens are thinking, how their government is performing, what the needs are in that community. I would also recommend that in addition to the national night out, that we propose having 2 Beloit night outs to start to try to bring the communities together so that we can reunite as citizens of the city of Beloit. I would recommend Also, that we invest more in our neighborhoods of counselors and stuff going out to the neighborhoods and making each citizen of the city of Beloit feel that they are valued. I think that's part of the problem is when you have a certain segment that is not valued, then that's where you have a lot of animosity that brews and grows within that city. All citizens have to feel that they are valued and are important in the city that they live in. You can't exclude or overlook a certain segment just because of where they may live. They're all citizens. They pay taxes. So they should all be valued by the government that represents them.
Thank you. Is there another non-incumbent wishing to answer the question? Ms. Keys?
I love the idea of a consistent community outreach from the leaders, as well as continue to build up and support local groups that are already established, and draw together the current leaders, and bring together the strengths in the different communities. Looking at the different business communities, how could we better highlight some of the Latino-owned small businesses, lift them up, highlight them and their strengths, as well as the African-American-owned businesses and small businesses, as well as continuing to make diversity a priority at the city level with the city employees, but also make a statement as we're recruiting and promoting continued business growth as the businesses we recruit here, and letting them know that this is what Beloit stands for, and this is one of the missions and priorities that we have.
Thank you. Mr. Terrell?
I can tell you about something that I've been able to establish, and I'm not even on the council yet. Just recently, because I'm a 9-year employee at the Frito-Lay, I was able to establish a relationship with the Hackett and Merrill communities and schools through Frito-Lay. And now Frito-Lay is providing donations to those schools and neighborhoods every weekly basis. And they're also at Frito-Lay advocating for people in those areas to get more jobs in those areas, to get hired into Frito-Lay. And part of the concern from the heads at my job is that we want to expand those bus routes out to the gateway community and get these people in those areas to be making up to about $50,000 a year. And I feel like I want to establish a relationship with the school district to put those job listings and job postings in the schools. That's actually a huge part of my platform. The parents are dropping off and picking their kids up from school every day. We can have job postings, job listings in those areas. Frito-Lay has definitely made a stride in making that happen. And with that, like I said, that was just something I've been able to establish with Frito-Lay in those troubled neighborhoods just recently, actually.
I'm sorry, time. Thank you. I will now begin the portion of the forum where audience questions will be answered by the candidates. Audience questions should not be personal or directed to a specific candidate. At this time, I will ask the sponsoring organization representatives to collect the audience questions. Candidates will be selected randomly to answer questions, and the candidate will have 1 minute. Am I correct about the time? 1 minute? To answer the question, and if another candidate wants to answer the same question, that candidate will have a 30-second time limit. You can bring them, you can go through, oh, thank you. Okay, as I stated, I'll do a random selection for candidates to answer the questions. The first question will go to Ms. Keys. Are you concerned about the way the city is divided, Beloit versus town of Beloit?
I know that the relationship between the city of Beloit and the town of Beloit has been riddled on and off with tension throughout the years, and it has quite the history. It is my understanding that we have come to some good agreements and ability to collaborate and working to better use resources as well as help with some of the combined the issues that we have. So at this time, I don't feel that that is one of the top concerns. I feel that we have a pretty good relationship going, but I definitely feel we have good potential for continued collaboration, not only with the town of Beloit, but also looking at the town of Turtle that might be a little bit more on the forefront right now, and the city of Janesville, as well as the town of South Beloit, because a lot of the issues that we have and the services that we need to meet are shared issues and don't really know boundaries. So we could be better use of our resources for better outcomes if we collaborate.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to answer the question? Mr. Parocho?
Of course, I have an opinion about this. Short, 30 seconds. I look forward to regionalism. I look forward to regional consolidation of services as much as we might be practical in the future. I don't know if I'll live to see it. And in conclusion, Beloit is better together. Thank you.
Thank you.
When I got her.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to answer the question? Mr. Terrell?
I mean, really, we have Beloit in the town of Beloit with like a very, very way too close. Some people that live in the town of Beloit feel like they can't get involved in Beloit, you know, I guess if you want to call it leadership, because they live in the town of Beloit. They're it seems like they're being excluded from certain things that Beloit is offering, or I mean, it's just an opinion. Like, we're way too close. I just wish if we're going to talk about inclusion, that there'd be a little bit more inclusion between the town of Beloit and the city of Beloit. And I guess like what Councilor Preschel said, Beloit is better together, so to speak.
Trademark.
Trademark. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I would
Ms.
agree that
Duncan?
we are close neighbors with the town, and I would just like to see us. I know that we have we'll be strengthening our relationship, and I would like to see us. I think it would help us even feasibly to be able to coordinate efforts. So that's something that I'm looking forward to, a stronger partnership with the town and the city.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to respond? Mr. Martin? The question that I read, are you concerned about the way the city is divided? And then you said Beloit versus town of Beloit.
Right, but what I'm thinking of, I live in a complex where they've drawn those lines.
Boundaries. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Anyone else wishing to change their answer based on the clarification of the question? Mr. Porchel.
I'm going to call off on that and say Beloit is better together. The boundaries make no sense. Regionalism makes a ton of sense. It's sane, it's rational, and we should be doing something about it. But the state of Wisconsin makes that very difficult. And we've done what we can, and we'll continue to work on it. I will always be consumed with this passionately, and and let me just say, I can't go on. I don't have a half an hour. I don't have 2 hours. And we could talk and talk, and we should sit down and do that, but we won't solve anything. I've been waiting literally all of my life to fix this problem, and I'm still waiting, and I don't think I'm going to live to see it.
Thank you. Hold on, please. I remind candidates you have 30 seconds to respond to the question that was rephrased. Mr. Terrell?
I agree with everything Council Pressel said. Again, trademark. This isn't like Beloit and South Beloit. You know what I mean? It's too much. Like we're all in the same area. It's like sometimes I go places in Beloit and I'm not sure if I'm in the town of Beloit or the city of Beloit. I'm not aware of the boundaries either. So yeah, that's something I could say I would advocate for. It's like I say, an inclusionary thing. Like we should be able to do things together instead of just back and forth jibber jabber or whatever. This isn't Beloit or South Beloit. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to answer the rephrased question? Mr. Martin?
I think to have better collaboration between two municipalities, you're going to have to go back and you're going to have to reestablish trust between both municipalities to have a better collaboration on anything in the future.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to answer the question? Thank you. The next question will be given to, excuse me, Mr. Martin. What is your stance on the dark stores loophole, which allows companies to pay less taxes? What do you think the council can do about the loophole?
Could you repeat that again?
Yes. What is your stance on the dark stores loophole, which allows companies to pay less taxes? What do you think the council can do about this loophole?
As far as companies and businesses paying less taxes, that's just simply unfair to any of the residents that reside here in the city of Beloit. And the only way I think that may be able to be resolved is you may have to look at how you issue TIF districts in the future to companies that are already paying less taxes than the residents. You would have to go back and you'd have to go back and review that and look at it from that standpoint. If they're already paying less taxes, you may have to look at how you issue TIF districts to certain businesses that come in to the city.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to answer the question? Yes, Ms. Keys.
I believe that everybody should pay their fair share, and when our businesses are not paying their fair share and properly assessed taxes based on their properly assessed value, then that hurts our school districts and cities and communities and puts a greater burden on the taxpayers at large. So we have to subsidize and then thus cover the city expenses that are not paid in by the stores. But this issue is a state issue, and this is something that I believe there was citywide input, and at large that people do feel that in fairness, and that as a city councilor, I could lobby and have discussion with our state representatives on helping close our dark store loophole.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to answer the question? The next question will be directed to Mr. Preishel. What is your level of support for Beloit Casino project?
Well, that's going to take more than 2 minutes. Or no, I'm sorry, 1 minute?
I'm sorry, Mr. Preishel, there's another part of the question that
Okay.
Hold on just a moment. And let me repeat. What is your level of support for Beloit Casino project? And what opportunities and challenges could it create for Beloit?
My level of support is I think it's wonderful that it may finally happen. It's nice that 20 years down the road, yes, 20 years, count them. It's not something we have to worry about happening. It's not something we desperately need like we did in 1999. And I'm encouraged by that. I don't personally care for casinos. I don't like gambling. I will never go there as a customer. I might go there to work, maybe, I don't know. But I'm not going to tell the Native Americans, the tribal nations what they can do with tribal land. I think we did that back in the 19th century, and we should not be doing that today. As far as the challenges, there will be challenges. I think for the most part, they'll be covered through their in-kind payments to the city, in lieu of taxes. And the fact that they're out by the interstate, they're attracting a lot of outside traffic. I think by and large, the people that live here in Beloit won't even know it's there. And I'm just willing to allow it to proceed along its course and hope for the best, because it's basically money that we don't have now that we will never have. It's only coming in. So more power to the tribes. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to answer the question?
I just wanted to add something. The casino would bring jobs into the community, which would be great. And it wouldn't just be a casino. It's also going to provide childcare for the people who work there. And it also be a place, a venue where we can have entertainment. It could also be a way to spark interest in our downtown. We could have transportation or trolleys going back and forth, and that would also increase the money that comes into the city of Beloit. So I think that would be good for Beloit.
Are there any challenges, Ms. Duncan, that you can see?
Not that I can think of.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to answer? Mr. Terrell?
From what I've been discovering about the casino coming in is that it's bringing about $2 million of revenue to the city of Beloit. I think it, like Mrs. Duncan said, it'd be good for expanding jobs in the city of Beloit. And we would also, if it's going to benefit anybody in Beloit, as I say all the time, we need to lower the cost of living for people in Beloit so that they could take advantage of that casino actually being here. Have some money to go over there and spend, go have a good time and take advantage of the convention center, the water parks that's coming in, retail, restaurants and everything. We want people to be able to spend their money there if they can afford it.
I'm sorry, time is up. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to answer the question? Ms. Keys?
I believe that the casino will be a strong economic stimulus and had the ability to sit in on a presentation with the vision of what it could be, and it includes a couple hotels. They want to draw in local businesses, and diversity is one of their priorities. So again, this is something that has already been voted on and is coming and is held up more at the federal level, but I think there's a lot of positives and potentials. Personally, I'm not one to gamble, and some of the negatives could be looking at the health and the gambling addiction side of things. So looking to make sure we have some community supports in place.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to answer? Mr. Martin?
Just so you all know, I'm saving up my change right now. So that should answer that question. I think the casino coming in will provide a lot of jobs for the citizens of Beloit, and also with opportunities for private businesses to be started up, like shuttle bus services to transport individuals back and forth to downtown. Along with that, gambling addiction, that could be a problem. But again, as long as we have services in place to help those with that problem, I think it will be a great benefit to the city of Beloit.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to answer?
And you can add to something. Okay.
One bite at the apple.
I just realized.
Don't I get a rebuttal?
Not tonight. Anyone else wishing to answer the question? The next question then will be directed to Mr. Terrell. What specific skills do you bring to the table?
What specific skills do I bring to the table? I got 2 minutes to answer that.
You have 2 minutes, 1 minute.
I am a community activist, a community advocate. I've done a lot of things in the city of Beloit. A lot that I probably it's so much that I've done. Like I said, I've been at Frito-Lay for 9 years, and I've been able to help to become the Beloit Daily News Volunteer of the Month of March in 2019. I'm the visionary founder of the youth boxing program at Rojas Boxing Gym. Now, through the 1649 program, they are providing funds to underprivileged youth with free YMCA passes. So kids who not able to afford boxing training, and it's a way to keep young troubled kids out of, to kind of help them control their anger, and also it's a good thing for fitness, and for the Y to do that for the program that I was able to do with Row House, it's a blessing. I'm currently volunteering with the after school program at Merrill Elementary, where I went to school at. Every Wednesday. So today I was actually there teaching the kids about how to get on the ballot and things like that. I was teaching them that today. Actually, it was on my Facebook. So I recently established a relationship between Frito-Lay and the Hackett and Merrill neighborhoods. The Hackett and Merrill neighborhoods, or if you want to call them, okay,
Thank
went
you.
over. My bad.
Anyone else wishing to answer the question? Ms. Keys?
So I work as a doctor of physical therapy out of the YMCA, and I'm really excited to bring my high level of problem solving, critical thinking, patient and personal and citizen advocacy, and just my energy to the Beloit City Council. Currently, I do serve on the Alcohol Beverage Licensing Control Committee, NAACP Education Committee. I'm the founder and lead volunteer of Beloit Plogging. I'm an active and proud member of Beloit Rotary, and also on the task force for the Wisconsin Health Providers for Climate Action.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to answer the question? Mr. Porocho?
I'm going to be brief. 1975, I updated the land use maps and city planning. I learned two things that year. I got to see all of Beloit, literally every street, in 1975, and I also learned I never wanted a desk job or an office job. So I went on from there and became a machinist for 22 years at Beloit Corp. and a couple of job shops before that. And then I spent 20 years in retail. So I understand a lot about the history of this city and what it takes to get here. And I never once stopped and thought about leaving this city. I told one fiance, she's put me on a 1-year deadline to leave town, and I said, we're not getting married. So I'm still here, and she's in Colorado. Anyway, I'm not sure. Maybe that was not the thing I should have done. But I bring a lot to the table, and I don't know how to quantify it. It's just the feeling I have, and I want to continue doing it, and I look forward to continuing to do it as long as my wife won't kill me.
Anyone else wishing to answer? Ms. Duncan?
I would just say that I work at Beloit Health System, and I was a former executive director of Merrill Community Center for 18 years. I'm very active in our community and throughout the state, and you can also see me on a regular basis, daily basis. I'm in Walmart, I'm in downtown. I go to any and every event that takes place in our city. Currently, I serve as a member of the Greater Beloit Economic Development Board, and so I have very early mornings and very late nights. And then before I came here tonight, I went to the community conversation, which we didn't get to talk about. I didn't add to tonight, and so I was also able to talk to the residents, and safety is such an important issue in our city. Also, I serve on the Wisconsin State Public Defender Board to help those people who are who get involved in the criminal justice system. I currently serve as the chair of that, and I'm very proud of that, and to represent Beloit. And I also am a new member to the Wisconsin Women in Government Board, and so I am very happy to serve and represent the city in that. I am truly committed to the city and dedicated to progress, and so I look forward to continuing to serve the residents of this city that I love.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to answer the question? Mr. Martin?
I think the skills that I will bring to City Council is the skills to bring people together, to figure out solutions to issues and problems that we have in the city, to work on unifying the community and the city as a whole, making people understand that the diversity is the strength of any community, and trying to bring everyone to that understanding, and getting out there and basically trying to make things happen in a positive way, because after retiring for 29 years plus as a firefighter, doing that job, basically everybody looks at you and say, hey, he's a firefighter, he can get things done.
True.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to answer? Not the last, but the next question will be directed to Ms. Duncan. How can Beloit face a pandemic crisis with the greatest calm and thoroughness? And then there was another question that related to this, which asked, is there a city plan? Is there a city plan in place?
Thank you for that question. First, I just want to say that we are partnering with the Wright County Health Department, who are taking the lead. Yesterday, actually, there was an educational session at Beloit Hospital with Dr. Samaraju, and I sat in on that with a lot of the residents. And today, actually, I was a part of an audio conference briefing with the White House, and they during that conversation, it shared that how, being locally, we're on the front lines, and we were shared the information that our president will be making supplemental appropriations in the amount of $8.3 billion, and those funds will be released next week, and more test kits will be made available. So in the meantime, we have to work together to contain the virus. And by being aware of the symptoms, residents can go to the CDC website, and there's a lot of information. I went on there today, and that is continually being updated. We want to be sure and do that. And practice good hand hygiene. Wash your hands with soap and water. We have to deal with the challenges by talking to each other and making sure that everyone has accurate information. And the most important thing is we can't panic. And I know it's so hard, and especially for those older people that have, whose immune systems can't take that on. So the best thing we can do is stay up to date, stay vigilant, and care about one another.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to answer the question? Mr. Martin.
What I can recommend is kind of on what Regina Duncan was saying. Yes, wash your hands, hygiene, period. Just hygiene, period. You know, stay clean. Your home, you know, wipe your surfaces down, and you know, those are some of the things that will that usually help with any other virus, cold, or anything like that. And again, not to panic. Educate yourself. Stay abreast of what's going on. So those are the only things I can say is, again, good hygiene, soap and water.
Thank you. Ms. Keys?
So this is an evolving process, and one of the best things we can do is stay educated and informed with reliable resources. So looking at the CDC, what the Rat County is, recommendations issued from Rat County, looking at the local resources from Beloit Health System. I know the Beloit Daily News is helping with getting the word out on current recommendations. It appears that we've had 3 confirmed cases in Wisconsin, and so it'll be interesting to see beyond the hand hygiene and self kind of isolation if you're having the symptoms, following up with the right provider. Beyond that, if it does grow in Wisconsin, then just being proactive and diligent in taking the necessary precautions of considering like social distancing and different things just to help with decreasing the rate of the spread. But just following the recommendations and staying educated and with clean hands.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to answer? Mr. Terrell?
If we're speaking specifically on in Beloit, as far as keeping those things from spreading, we definitely need to focus on our homeless population. They're out there on the streets, and a lot of them don't have access to a lot of those things. We need to figure out ways to, you know, like I say, those kind of people. And personally, yes, you do want to keep yourself clean. I mean, I hope some people can at least afford their water bill as much as I just try to speak on like affordable living. But definitely that would be something that we would have to address with the homeless population, because they're out there on the streets and they don't have access to those things clearly. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to answer? Thank you.
And you can't add to it.
Pardon me?
You can't add anything to it.
No. Nice
I
try.
was just gonna say, people have symptoms, please call. Please call, let them know you're coming. That's important.
Always want to slip something through. Thank you, members of the audience, for your questions. Two items, audience, for your information this evening. The school board forum will be held from 6:30 to 8 p.m. Thursday, March 19th. The forum will be held here at City Hall. The second item, your census materials should arrive mid-March. You may complete the materials online, by phone, or by mail. The League of Women Voters will be available at Grinnell Hall on Friday, March 27th, if you need assistance in completing the census information. A reminder to vote on April 7th at your regular polling place. And there are census materials, I think, still on the table if you wish to collect those on your way out. Thank you. You're going to be quite busy on the 27th. Good, good. Thank you very much for that. Now, each candidate will now have the opportunity to give closing remarks. Closing remarks will be limited to 2 minutes, and I'll begin with closing remarks with Ms. Keys.
I want to start by thanking our organizers for this evening, the League of Women Voters, or the NAACP, Rising Professionals, and the Greater Beloit Chamber of Commerce. I also want to thank everybody in attendance for sharing their Wednesday evening with us. And I want to thank my fellow candidates for a successful forum, as well as for running for public office, because it takes a lot of courage to run for office. I really want to close by sharing some of the three greatest assets that I feel that I could bring to Beloit's City Council. So number one, my high level of problem-solving skills and critical thinking skills that I really feel can help us tackle some of our more complex issues within the city. Number two, my energy and strong work ethic that can continue to contribute to the momentum and the positive business growth that the current council has started and built upon. And number three, my commitment to our Beloit community and my passion for pushing for positive change. So with that, I'd like to humbly ask for your support and your vote on April 7th so that I, Brittany Keys, may have the honor of serving you on Beloit City Council.
Thank you very much. Next, Mr. Martin.
I'd also like to thank the NAACP, League of Women Voters, Chamber of Commerce, and Rising Professionals for extending the invitation to this event tonight. I would just like to say, as a city council, elected city council official, that I'd work very hard to unite this city, to bring us closer together, to work with our diversity to strengthen the city. And again, I'd work very hard for you. I'll be your advocate and your voice as citizens of the city of Beloit. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Ms. Duncan.
Thank you. In closing, I want to thank all those involved with the forum tonight, the residents who are here, and my family and friends for their ongoing support. I'm seeking re-election to the Beloit City Council because I want to help make a difference and ensure that everyone that lives here has a good quality of life. I know firsthand the commitment that is required to be a good counselor, and I will continue to do my very best for all the residents of Beloit. We've had lots of accomplishments, which include industrial and redevelopment projects like Amazon, Beloit Snappers Riverbend Stadium, Visit Beloit, Pratt Industries, West Riverside Energy Center, North Star Medical Radioisotopes, Lions Magnus, and the Powerhouse. By working together, we are making Beloit a place that everyone can be proud of. And we have an even brighter future ahead. As your city councilor, I will continue to listen to you and do what is in your best interest and in the general welfare of our city. I am truly committed to our community and dedicated to progress, and realize that there is more work to be done. I ask that you please vote for me on Tuesday, April 7th, for Beloit City Council so that we can keep the momentum going. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Duncan. Mr. Terrell?
I would also like to say thank you to the rising professionals, the Chamber of Commerce, the NAACP, and the League of Women Voters as well for inviting us. I just want everybody to know that I was born and raised here. I love my city. I really love my city to death, and I'm never leaving it. I've done a lot, so many things that I'm very passionate about in the city of Beloit, and I will always continue to be here. I want you to know that I'm not coming to be a politician. Win, lose, or draw in this election, I'm always going to continue to still be out here doing my community activism as I have been doing before I came on this council. There are things that I've completed with different organizations in the city of Beloit that involved the people that really needed it, and these was all volunteer efforts. I'm seeking to become a counselor because I know I could take it to another level because of my commitment and just how much I love this city. And I want to give a shout out to Merrill and Hackett specifically to start off, and for Frito-Lay, to Career Tech, to the YMCA, to the 1649 program, to Rojas Boxing Gym. I'm very grateful for all those people, all those organizations, and everybody involved through those schools, and just for everything that they've been able to do, not specifically because I had anything to do with it, it's just because of the fact that they really do care about residents in the city of Beloit. And they've drove my passion to a whole nother level to even want to be on the city council. And as I've said, I reiterate again, these are things that I've done. I'm not even on the council. And these are things I will continue to do whether I'm on the council or I'm not. It's a passion of mine, and I'm not just here to, necessarily seek a higher level. I'm just here because I care about my city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Terrell. Mr. Proischel?
Well, thanks to the organization hosting this, and thanks to everyone who came to be here as part of this, and people who might be watching on YouTube. And a special thanks to Ralph for being the moderator and saying my name better than anybody I know says it since my grandma. And I'm really, really happy you're here.
Thank you.
Who would have
very
thought
much.
45 years ago, Ralph?
I know.
But
Mark and I attended college together.
yes, he finished, I didn't. But I've spent all of my life promoting Beloit, and I think everybody knows that. And I look out and I see this group here today, and I've done a ton of this, taking events and promoting events and providing photography to the people to promote Beloit. And that all began 20 years ago, or more actually. But I want to go to events and I want to see the crowd I see here right now. I want this kind of crowd at every event I go to. You guys are Beloit, and I love, not only do I love the city, I love the people. There is nobody in this town, I can't think of anybody that doesn't deserve my consideration. And I'm out there and I want to continue doing the council work. I thought it was an odd fit at first because it's not me. I'm more of a background, please pretend I'm not here kind of person. And it's turned that on its nose a little bit, but I do want to be there for people, and I am there for people. I'm probably the most out there city councilor you can find as far as being responsive to people and listening to what they have to say and trying to find an answer for them. And I want to continue doing that as long as I can. And just the opportunity is wonderful, and I'm forever grateful for it. And I don't have a prepared statement, as you can probably tell. But I would appreciate your support, and I look forward to it. And although I might cry on a drop of a hat, I do have a tough backbone, and I do ask tough questions, and Regina can confirm that. And anytime when you're at the city council meetings, look at the city attorney and look at the city manager when I'm about to open my mouth and go, why are they looking like that? And that's because I want to say the things that need to be said, and I want to be honest about it. And I could go on and on about the problems that Beloit had in the past, the reason I got involved, the real reason in 1986, 87, I had to stop.
sorry,
I had to
time.
stop.
Thank
I
you.
didn't want to continue the way it was. I wanted to make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Proschel. I would like to thank each candidate for their participation in tonight's City Council Forum. Thanks to the League of Women Voters of Beloit, the NAACP Beloit Chapter, and the Greater Beloit Area Chamber of Commerce for providing this opportunity. And thanks to you, members of the audience, for your attendance, your participation, and your support. Good night.